Let's look at the main menu options on this TechSmart Tpms tool. Our first option is Check Sensors. What we can do with this mode is hit Enter, pick our vehicle, GMC, Sierra 2014, and as it indicates, it's going to walk us around the car to check the actual sensor. And in all cases, it wants us to start on the left front. If we go ahead and simulate that we're standing at the left front tire, and we go ahead and test that sensor, you will see the tool is now communicating with a TPMS sensor. It has now read that data, and it's stated that left front sensor, ID stored or data stored. And on here, we're reading pressure, temperature, and the actual ID number along with the megahertz that it transmits at. Once we do that, we hit Enter again, and we're going to move to the right front tire. Simulating that we're now on the right front tire, we're going to read that sensor. The tool beeped, indicating the right front tire information is stored, and we can confirm that with a visual look at all of the information: megahertz, pressure, temperature. Let's move on now to the right rear sensor. Once we've pressed Enter and moved on to the right rear tire, we hit Test again, and we'll now be testing the right rear to make sure that the data is being transmitted properly. As here, right rear stored, same information indicates that we have a properly functioning right rear TPMS sensor. We hit Enter again, and we move to the left rear. Simulating that we're at the left rear, we're going to go ahead and hit the Test button again. Left rear data stored. We've now read and confirmed that all four sensors are transmitting data to our TPMS tool and should be functioning properly on this vehicle. If we were in a true relearn mode, the horn would beep at each reading of the left front, the right rear, and the left rear, and you would hear a double horn chirp to indicate that you've finished the TPMS relearn process. Let's look at our second selection, Service TPMS. You have many choices on this menu. You can reset the TPMS system. You can do a part number lookup. You can read TPMS diagnostic codes. You can unlock the ECU. RF signal detection. Let's move back to the top and start with the first selection. Reset TPMS system. When you need to do a relearn, this is where you need to go. Once you've installed new sensors, if you've fixed a known issue and need to do a relearn on the system, go into Reset TPMS System. Let's take a look at this Toyota 4Runner. Select Toyota 4Runner 2014, and you'll see the instructions come up. Inflate all tires, read all sensors using the tool, and then connect your OBD2 port connector. And as you scroll down, it'll finish the rest of the instructions, how to do a relearn, and it'll even recommend that you take it for a drive at 12 miles per hour. Now that we've done Reset TPMS System, let's look at part number lookup. Scroll down to part number lookup, hit Enter. Let's use our same reference vehicle, Toyota 4Runner 2014, and it reads the part number of TPM 82A. And if you scroll down, you will see it also lists our QS103, and it has MRR indicating metal or rubber. So not only will you find the OE direct fit sensor that belongs on there from standard, you will also find the QS103MR, which is our quick sensor multifunction. Now that we've done part number lookup, let's scroll down to read TPMS diagnostic trouble codes. Let's use our same example vehicle, Toyota. Connect the OBD2 module, then turn the ignition on. At this point, once we go ahead and connect the module, you'd be able to hit Enter, and if there are stored diagnostic trouble codes, you would need to follow the service manual to proceed from here on how to fix, clear, and then send your customer on their way. Now that we've done Service TPMS, let's move down to Program Blank Sensor. Once again, we're going to use the vehicle that we've referenced earlier, the Toyota 4Runner 2014, and then quick sensor. Copy original sensor, copy set of sensors, manually enter ID. We're going to want to scroll down and create a new sensor. Let's take a blank QS103M for metal, put it in front of the antenna, press enter, and then hit the test button. We are now transmitting the software from this tool to the blank QS103, and we're going to program it to fit a Toyota 4Runner. As you can see, it's giving you the megahertz, the ID number, the pressure, and the temperature. Once that's done, this sensor is ready to be installed. Let's go back into the Program Blank Sensor menu, select our Toyota 4Runner 2014, select Quick Sensor, copy original sensor. Let's copy the original sensor and then take that ID and clone it to a quick sensor. Put the simulated OE sensor in front of the antenna and hit test. We are now reading the data from the OE sensor that we're going to then clone or copy to the QS103M green sensor. As you see, it's indicating hit next. We're going to hit enter. At that point, we're going to remove our OE sensor, place our QS103M in front of the unit, hit enter again, and then we're going to load the sensor or take that ID and write it to the green sensor. We have now copied the ID from the original sensor and put it onto the green sensor. Let's go back into the Program Sensor menu and review one more option. Program Blank Sensor, let's choose our Toyota 4Runner 2014. We will select Quick Sensor, and we will do a manually enter ID. At this point, you would be able to read the ID number off of the original equipment sensor and go ahead and program that into using the scroll up and down buttons, program that number or letter into the system that matches the exact OE number, and then program it to the green sensor. Now that we've showed you a few of the program blank sensor options, let's move down to the key fob test. In some applications, you need the key fob to put the vehicle into relearn mode. And if the vehicle will not go into relearn mode, an easy test to make sure that the key fob is functioning properly is to enter, hit the key fob test, pick your GM vehicle, wait for it to load, and you go ahead and press the key fob button, and the graph will indicate if the key fob is working correctly. Now that we've showed you how to get into and operate the key fob test, let's scroll down to settings. Hit enter. Once you're in the setting mode, you have a number of choices. Units that it reads in, the format, and you have the ability to make that auto, which I would recommend. Buzzer on. This way you have all indications that the tool is working at each standpoint, because it will beep when you finish a process. So I would say buzzer on. Backlight 100%. That depends on your eyes. Auto off in 5 minutes. Sometimes I like to raise that if I'm working on multiple vehicles so I don't have to go in and start from scratch each time. But your battery life will suffer on the tool. Hide vehicles. This is an interesting feature. If you're a fleet and you're working on 1 or 2 vehicles, instead of having to scroll through the entire menu, you can go in here and hide particular vehicles that you know you're not going to work on, so the tool can work faster for you if you're processing 1 or 2 of the same vehicles in a fleet application. Hide part numbers. You can also go in and do the same thing. Let's move on to export data. With this option, you can actually take data from the tool and export it into your computer so you can store it and save it for evaluation later. After export data, go to About. This is where you'll find what software you have, the serial number on the unit, updates, and power cycles. So this indicates that you've done 2 updates and that we've turned the unit on 11 times. From settings, let's move on to language. And as you can see, once you hit the enter button, there are many choices. We know that both English and Spanish are very common to North America, but you do have other choices within this tool.